dedicated to empowering you with information,
to make positive choices,
and be advocates for your overall well-being.
Welcome to The Health View. Welcome to The Health View. I'm Yvonne Dunitz, and today we're going to be talking about fire safety and the most important information you need to know, and also what you need to do. And my guest is Fire Marshal Adam Pouliot. Welcome.
Thank you.
So, Adam, tell us a little bit about what it is to be a fire marshal.
Well, here in Nashua, I'm responsible for running our fire prevention division. There's myself, and we have two other inspector investigators. We conduct building inspections. We do fire investigations. My job also involves reviewing building plans for fire and life safety code compliance, reviewing fire alarm sprinkler plans. I go out on the street and do inspections as well.
So what are the most important issues that you find every day in your realm of work, as far as problems and things that you need to address?
Some of the most common problems are lack of smoke detectors. We run into that an awful lot in our multifamily buildings here in the city.
Aren't they required by law?
They are required by law.
And isn't the responsibility of the landlords and as well as the owners to make sure that they're in the facilities?
It is.
On each level?
Correct.
And so how does that happen where they're not put in?
Well, as they get older, they'll start to malfunction. If you get detectors that activate for no apparent reason, tenants tend to remove them because they're sick of listening to them.
Versus replacing them.
Versus replacing them.
It's not very costly, though.
They're not very costly at all.
No, and they can easily, where can one purchase one?
Any hardware store.
Any hardware store. And so people need to basically, I would think, make sure that they are working. And how would they check to see if they were working or not?
Most smoke detectors have a test button right on the surface of them. And all you do is you reach up, you push the test button, and it will sound. It's usually a 5 to 10 second little test. You know it's functioning.
Okay, and if it doesn't sound, that means it either needs a new battery, is it, or just automatically needs replacement?
It could be either or. Smoke detectors that are inside all of our multi-unit buildings in the city are hardwired, so they're wired into the building's electrical system, and they also have a battery backup in them. So if it's not working, then that tells you that there's something seriously wrong.
So what do all homeowners need to do, and as well as tenants need to do, as well as landlords need to do?
If a tenant discovers one that's not functioning or is not functioning properly, they need to notify their landlord to get it changed. Homeowners should replace one immediately if they find it not functioning.
Okay, and the landlord's responsibility of how quickly to change it once notified?
They should have it changed out within 24 hours.
Okay, that's very important. So as the seasons change, what are the types of things that you see that cause fires, and what can people do to prevent them?
Wintertime tends to be an increased level of fire activity.
Why is that?
Mostly because of temperature. The second leading cause of home fires is heating equipment. So once the temperature starts to go down, people start using wood stoves, fireplaces, things that have sat dormant for a long period of time. If they malfunction, if they're not cleaned properly, they can cause fires. If you don't have proper clearance from combustibles, you can have an issue.
Explain that a little better, if you would, a little more, as far as proper clearance.
Proper clearance. If you're using any wood-burning appliance, wood stove, fireplace, you shouldn't have anything that's going to easily ignite any sort of ordinary combustible within 3 feet.
So that would be not to have any paper? What things shouldn't be nearby?
Well, a common thing, kids go outside sledding. They come in with their winter clothes. They put them on a rack next to the wood stove to dry.
Aha. So you need not do that.
So you need to not do that. Anything that's going to combust should be 3 feet away from a wood stove. 3 feet's a safe distance.
Now,
And the same with portable electric heaters. We see a pretty good use of those in the wintertime.
And what should people do to get them ready for the season?
They should test them
Okay.
before they put them in long-term use. Portable heaters should also only be used while somebody's there to tend to them. You should never use a portable heater and leave it on for a day while you're away. It should only be in use while somebody's there.
And as far as fireplaces are concerned, you mentioned about cleaning them up and readying them. What do people need to do?
They should be cleaned at a minimum once a year. Our office would always recommend at least a twice a year
And
cleaning.
how is it cleaned? You're talking about chimney cleaning?
Chimney cleaning.
How is
correct.
that done?
With brushes.
With brushes. And so you need to hire
Yep,
somebody?
you hire a professional to come in with basically some stiff bristle brushes. They run them up the chimney flue, and they have different designs based on the shape of your flue, whether it's a round flue, square, rectangle flue. It's important to get the creosote deposits off the side walls of the chimney.
And that's when you're using wood burning. And would that be the same for a wood burning stove?
Yes.
Okay, so it's still the chimney that needs to be cleaned.
Still, the chimney needs to be cleaned.
And what
Chimney fire can quickly escape the chimney and start burning the structural components of your house.
okay. So, and this should be done at least once a year.
At least once a year, but we'd recommend it twice a year.
And is it difficult for people to find a chimney cleaner?
You get online or look through the phone book. There's professional chimney cleaners out there.
And what if you have a gas fireplace? Is there a difference related to that?
You wouldn't need to clean a chimney for a gas fireplace.
But what
It's not
do you
going to
need
leave
to
the soot
do?
deposits, but a gas fireplace is the same as like a gas furnace. You should have it inspected and maintained at least once a year.
And who inspects it?
Any gas fitter would be able to inspect it.
Any gas?
A licensed gas fitter.
Oh, okay. So they would come and they would check to make sure that it's operating
It's
correctly.
functioning properly. Yep.
Okay, now you're talking about winter, so people use electrical blankets too. Electric blankets.
Yes.
Are there problems with that?
The problems with electric blankets, I'd say the use of electric blankets has gone down a lot. I don't see them as much as I used to. But those are an issue too, because you've got live electrical wires that run through the blankets. They're small, thin wires, and they can break. So if you have something resting on the surface of the blanket, such as your dog, that's
Right.
a common one.
Yep.
They used to tell you not to let your dog sleep on it because it creates a dense spot in the blanket that can break the wires. And
Plus,
cause
what would happen if the dog accidentally peed or threw up on the blanket? Because of the water on electrical,
It could be a problem.
it could be a problem. And when people have electrical blankets, they probably shouldn't have any water nearby or anything of that sort.
Correct.
Okay.
And like any electrical appliance as well, same goes with the electric space heaters. They should be plugged direct to a wall outlet. They shouldn't be plugged into an extension cord or a power strip.
Okay.
Because anything that uses electricity to generate heat generates a lot of current, and oftentimes it generates or draws more current than those extension cords are rated for. So any of those appliances should be plugged direct to an outlet.
Very good. Now, you mentioned the colder season, so immediately I think of the holidays related to the colder season, and sometimes people have decorations that they put up, let alone they may have a Christmas tree or whatever. What should they do as far as precautions?
If you're using a live tree, you should absolutely water the tree every day. If the tree dries out, it is very susceptible to catching fire. If you're going to string lights on the trees, certainly we recommend LED lights. They don't get as warm as an incandescent bulb would. They're much safer. That being said, you should inspect your light string every year as well to make sure that there aren't any breaks or cracks in the insulation on the wiring.
Okay. And from a business point of view, those that are in business during the winter seasons, what do they need to do to protect related to fire safety?
One of the biggest problems we see, especially around the holiday shopping season, stores tend to have more inventory than they would the rest of the year. So it's real important in the wintertime, or any time of year actually, that they don't put so much inventory in the stores, that they're reducing the width of their aisles, that they're starting to block exits. People need to be able to quickly get out if an emergency happens.
So if someone was in a mall during, a hectic time of year and where it's more crowded or whatever else, and they smelt smoke or they saw a fire beginning to happen, what is the recommendation for people in those types of settings, for malls, stores, shopping centers, movie theaters? What should they do?
When they go into these facilities, one of the first things they should do is just make note of other exits. What we refer in the fire service as situational awareness. kind of take a look all around. Find out where your exits are. The exit that you came in might not be the one that you leave. We are creatures of habit. The Station Nightclub is a good example of that. When things went bad there, everybody immediately started to leave. They all went out the front exit because that's the way they came in. We're creatures of habit. We're going to leave the building the way we came in because that's the way we know. That fire ended up in 100 fatalities. So it's real important to look for alternative exits so that you aren't spending longer time inside of a building where there's danger trying to find your way out.
And from a business perspective, businesses should make sure no entry is ever blocked
Correct.
and that people can easily get out.
Yep.
And from a home perspective, a residential, what else can people do too?
We talked a little bit about like decorations.
But doorways, windows?
Decorations are fine, but they should never obstruct your door, never obstruct your window.
Okay.
Windows would be your second means of escape from a bedroom. Every sleeping room or every bedroom is required to have two ways out. One obviously would be your door. The second way out would be a window.
So your windows need to be able to open.
Correct. They need to be able to open, and most importantly, and we run into this a lot when we do inspections, furniture placed in front of the windows.
So don't block the window so that you are able to get out through that window within a home setting. And for those that are landlords, they need to make sure that all windows open in the residential settings as well as in the business settings so
Correct.
that the businesses can be able to get out if need be.
Yes.
All right then. So let's talk about the fall. Fall, a lot of times, there are brush fires and people smoke cigarettes. What is the impact that they have on fires and how can they help related to prevention?
Spring and fall tend to be our brush fire seasons. In the spring, we're just coming out of the wintertime. The snow's gone. Things haven't greened up yet. All of the dead grass, the dead tree litter, everything's still on the ground. We have the same problem again in the fall. And what typically happens is we get a long period of dryness, 4, 5, 6 days of sunny, warm weather. The field gets tinder dry, and something as simple as a carelessly discarded cigarette can start a significant fire. We run into that pretty regularly here in the city. Sometimes it's just a simple bark mulch fire in one of the traffic islands in one of the shopping plazas. Other times it's a fire in the bark mulch adjacent to a home or business that burns up the side of a building. That happens a lot.
All because of a cigarette
All
being
because of
tossed.
a cigarette.
So what would you advise people then related to the smokers?
Smokers should discard their cigarettes in a proper container.
And make sure that they're completely out.
Make sure they're completely out. A proper container would be a metal container. And that's something that I've noticed over the last few years. When I was a kid, even a teenager, coffee came in metal cans.
Yes.
Metal coffee cans were the commonly used ashtray.
Okay.
They'd be sitting outside of businesses. They'd be sitting out in porches of some of our multifamily buildings, and people would discard their cigarette butts in there. Coffee does not come in metal cans anymore. It comes in plastic containers.
Right.
So we're seeing plastic containers, plastic buckets being used for cigarettes.
Oh my,
Well,
and is that causing
plastic
fires?
plastic heats up and burns.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen a lot of fires because of that.
So businesses, what do they need to do? Some businesses have no smoking policies, and some of their employees and even schools, they have out of campus, out of reach, 100 feet or 200 feet, where they have areas for smokers. What do they need to provide for people who smoke?
They need to provide a metal container, a sealed metal container that they can deposit their cigarettes into.
Okay. Now, as far as chemical fires, what do people need to do related to chemical fires? And how are they even aware of what a chemical fire is?
Chemical fires don't occur in the home that often unless somebody is mixing chemicals. If you're mixing cleaning chemicals
Right.
and you mix some that are incompatible,
Right.
yep, you can have a fire, you can have an explosion. So you should never mix chemicals together. If a fire is to occur, the best advice I could give is to get out. Don't try to fight a chemical fire.
Okay.
Some of the chemicals aren't going to react well to water. If it's a liquid that's on fire, the water's just going to help spread it.
Okay.
Fire.
And within a home setting, what are the things that people should have in the home setting in case there ever is a fire extinguisher?
Yep, I would always recommend having a fire extinguisher in the house. However, if given the option to either fight a fire or to get out, I would always say your best option is to get out. Get out of the house, call 911. We're going to be there quick.
Okay. And have a meeting place where you meet your family outside. If there is an emergency
Correct.
such as that, have that and let everybody know that something
Yep.
happens, get out and meet there.
A meeting place out typically in front of the house so that when we arrive, you can tell us quickly if everybody's accounted for.
Okay.
And I can't stress enough, don't try to fight the fire and do not put yourself in a position where the fire is between you and your way out. Your best option is to just leave the building.
Right. So that's the importance of the smoke detectors so that if a fire is about to occur or in the beginning stages that you hear it so that you can get out quickly.
Correct. And they've done a lot of testing on smoke detectors, and basically from the time the detector goes off till you get significant involvement of the room or the building, it's about 2 minutes.
2
So from the time the detector sounds, you've got 2 minutes or less to get out of the building.
So when people have their children upstairs and they need to quickly try to get them out as fast as possible.
Correct. And that's why your smoke detectors should all be interconnected, so that if a fire occurs on one level, everybody on all the other levels will know at the same time. You don't have to wait for the fire to spread up to the second floor if it starts in the basement. The detectors in your home should all be interconnected so that if one goes off, they all go off. Gives you your best shot of being able to safely get out of the building.
Now, a number of people, let's say in the business areas, when a fire alarm goes off in business, any type of business, it's important for people to get out, correct?
Correct.
So some people hear alarms, a lot of places that go off, and they ignore the alarms. What would you want to tell them?
That's a common problem. I see it a lot. We conduct fire drills oftentimes in some of these business buildings just because the owners are curious to see how people react. And exactly as you said, they won't leave. They'll look around, they don't see anything obvious.
They don't smell smoke.
They'll keep going about their business or doing their thing.
What is the danger that they're placing themselves in
The
by
danger is
responding
something
that
could
way?
be going on in another part of the building that they can't see. And by the time they realize that there is a problem, it could be too late. And for us arriving, it creates a bigger issue because now instead of going to attack the fire, we've got to take our resources away and focus on getting the people out of the building. So while we're doing that, the fire is going to continue to grow.
So what do you want to tell people about what they need to do?
If you're out and about shopping, you're in a building where the alarm goes off, you don't see anything, you don't smell anything, it doesn't matter.
Get out.
Do us a favor, do yourself a favor, and get out of the building.
Don't second guess it. Just move out
Correct.
calmly and get out.
A few minutes inconvenience your time is more important than losing your life.
Let's talk about schools.
Okay. Schools in the state of New Hampshire are required to be inspected twice a year.
Is that similar in other states also?
I would say probably.
Okay, and that inspection comes about, what happens?
Our office hooks up with somebody from the school department, and we show up unannounced,
Okay.
which is great because we
Yes.
want to see what's going on in the building during normal operations.
Wonderful.
So,
What are the things that you look for?
most importantly, we look for clear exits. Schools, by nature, by the amount of people in them, by the fact that we have young kids in them, they're what we'd consider a high hazard occupancy or a high risk occupancy because we have a lot of people in them. They aren't necessarily going to respond appropriately in an emergency. So exits are probably the most important thing that we look for.
So nothing should be blocking an exit.
Nothing should be blocking exit. The hallways should be clear.
Totally cleared.
Yep.
Okay, what else?
So we'll walk around and we'll go into every classroom. Every classroom is inspected. We look specifically for decorations.
Okay.
We're fortunate here in the city that most of our schools are built out of non-combustible construction.
Okay.
You know, they're steel, masonry, so the buildings themselves won't necessarily burn, but the items in them will.
Okay.
So the contents of the building will burn. So as we go through the classrooms, we're looking for things like extension cords. Back when we were in school, everything was done on a chalkboard. We don't have chalkboards anymore. We have computers, projectors. We have a lot of electronic stuff plugged in. These schools weren't built for that. So a lot of times there's a shortage of electrical outlets. So sometimes we see a lot of what we call creative wiring. So extension cords plugged into power strips and piggybacked into other ones. So we look for those types of electrical hazards. We look for excessive decorations covering the walls, ceilings, anything that would contribute to any sort of rapid fire spread through a room.
So what would you advise teachers, schools, administrators to do within their buildings? What do they need to make sure that they do?
Minimize the use of extension cords and power strips. Keep artwork, decorations, teaching materials to the walls only, not suspend them from the ceilings, and keep it to a minimum.
Make sure all exits and entrances are completely cleared and all hallways cleared.
Correct.
Okay. What happens now if someone catches on fire?
If your clothing catches on fire, the most important thing is do not run. Running when you're on fire will help fan the flames. So just as we were taught years ago, stop, drop, and roll still applies.
Okay.
So stop immediately, drop to the ground, and roll back and forth until the flames go out.
And if it's a chemical fire, if you're burnt chemically?
If it's flaming, same thing, stop, drop, and roll.
Okay.
If you have chemical burns, importantly, get out of the area where the chemicals are, get out to a safe area, and call 911.
All right then. What other information do we want to make sure happens? Let's say somebody's in a movie theater or they're in the grocery store and they smell smoke. What do they need to do?
Notify an employee, exit the building, activate the fire alarm system on their way out.
Now let's talk about fire alarm systems. Of course, we know that you're never to activate a fire alarm system unless there is fire or the thought of a fire, correct? Because it's illegal to trip a fire alarm.
For a false alarm, correct.
Okay.
If you smell smoke, you see smoke, but you don't see any flames, that's a perfectly good reason to pull that fire alarm.
Okay.
So you might not see flames now, but you can smell something burning. You've got some smoke starting to fill the space. Pull the alarm, get everybody out of the building.
So if you're in a place where you're visually seeing it and you're not able to get to somebody to contact them to let them know, immediately do that.
It's perfectly okay to pull the fire alarm.
Now, restrooms, they sometimes are places where fires can occur. Is that correct?
Correct.
And so what should people do if they see anything in there or notice anything that could be a fire in the making?
If you're in a restroom, restrooms typically have just one door, so one
Right.
way in, one way out.
Yep.
So the best thing you do, leave the room, close the door on your way out. I can't stress that enough. And that also applies to in your home, because the thought is to confine that fire to a single room. So by closing the door on the way out, that buys a little bit more time where that fire is going to stay contained and not spread.
So if there's a
So-
fire in any particular room, be it a business, a home residence, or anywhere, what you want to do is close that door.
Correct.
Now, on your way out, when you're evacuating the building, the home, or whatever else, do you close the front door or the back door where you're exiting out, or do you leave it open for the fire department to be able to enter?
Oh, you can close it,
Just make sure
because
it's
if you leave
unlocked.
it open, it's just going to add more fresh air
So
to the
you
fire.
should close it
So
then, but just leave it unlocked
the
so
doors
that you
closed.
can get in and don't have to bang it out.
Correct.
All right then. So in summary, what would you want everybody to know that they need to and what they need to do?
Again, most important thing, whether your home, business,
School,
school, make sure your fire alarm system works. If you're home, make sure your smoke detectors work. Those are the items that are going to save you.
and also have a fire extinguisher
A fire extinguisher is
on
handy.
every level.
At least one in the house.
Okay, and check it at least annually to make sure that it's working.
You should check it monthly and make
Okay.
sure that the gauge still shows that it's good.
Excellent.
And again, use it if you have to, but if you have the option to get out of the building and not fight the fire, get out of the building.
All right then, what else would you want people to know?
If you're out and about, you're inside a store shopping, you're out at a restaurant,
Movie
take a few
theater.
seconds to look around you and find out where your exits are. Find out where safe places are.
So find at least 2 exits, right? You were
Correct.
saying before, at least
Look
2
for at least
exits.
2 exits. So if the way you came in is blocked, you know immediately which way you need to go to get out.
And always remember where you've parked outside.
That's helpful.
Yes. What about a vehicle fire?
Vehicle
You smell
fires.
fire in a vehicle.
Yes.
You're driving along and all of a sudden something
Vehicles
doesn't
are
smell
full
right.
of plastics synthetic materials in your seats, foam in the cushions. Vehicle fires spread very, very quickly, and all this stuff that's burning creates very, very toxic smoke that can incapacitate you very quickly.
So as soon as you
deadly.
notice any smoke,
If you have
any smell, immediately pull over and get out
pull
of
over
the
and get out.
vehicle.
Get-
How far away?
Get 50 feet away from your vehicle.
And then try to call a
Try
fire
to call
department, call
911.
911. That's
Yep.
really important information. We really appreciate everything that you do. It's not an easy thing to fight fires, and it's a dangerous livelihood. But without our firemen and firewomen and the fire departments, we would not be able to safely take care of our communities. So we appreciate it very, very much. Now, if people were to go online to find out more information as to what they can do related to fires and planning for fire prevention, is there a website that is nationally known that they can go to?
There is. The National Fire Protection Agency, NFPA, has a website. It's nfpa.org. And there's a lot of good public education stuff that you can download right off that site.
What are the types of things they have there?
They have information on how to pre-plan your house for escape,
Okay.
how to conduct fire drills with your children,
Very good,
a lot of information on smoke and carbon monoxide detection,
very good.
where to place these detectors, a lot of good home safety information.
Could you please repeat that again?
That's nfpa.org.
And one more time?
nfpa.org.
That's excellent. I thank you very much for everything that you do. Until next time.